Nets, Blake Griffin, nice move to the basket, but denied by Jared Allen.
Jared Allen says, no, I'm not showing up on your poster, sir.
Yeah, Blake. That was surprising right there. Now, Blake normally would dunk on anybody. That's great timing.
See, you requested this. You said more blocks, less dunks.
Jeff
we're
Green, the outlet pass, takes one dribble, drops the hammer.
Jeff Green. He's a wizard now.
Oh, yeah, going back to his college days, Georgetown, bro.
Absolutely.
Back in the D.C. area, resurrected his career with the King. I like his game, man. He will help them.
He was the second-best player on the Cavs in the game 6 and 7 wins against the Celtics in the Eastern Conference.
Warriors and Suns.
Well, I love Robo.
Steph Curry picks Shaquille Harrison's pocket, makes him look silly, lays it in with the left.
I'm glad we're playing basketball again. Oh, no. Man, you see that inside-out dribble? See, he put the ball on the left side, put his hand on the left side? Oh, man, that was nice.
And Steph, his unanimous MVP year, he was top 3 in the league, finishing at the rim. He was way on, everyone thought just shooting. He was so great at finishing when he got to the rim. Kyrie gets a lot of the headlines.
Back to that, last year started the season with a little injury.
Yep.
So we should see him soon with that spacing on the court.
All right, let's move on to the big topic rolling around yesterday. Jason Garrett, the Cowboys head coach, under much scrutiny after his decision to punt on 4th and 1 in overtime Sunday night, despite having one of the best running backs in the game. Cowboys ended up losing to Houston. After the game, Jerry Jones said about the decision to punt, it was time to take risks. Garrett says he explained his thought process to Jerry Jones and said he still believes he has the support of the Cowboys owner. All right, CC, should Jason Garrett be coaching for his job at this point on the heels of both what happened Sunday and just the way that this Cowboys offense has been all season?
Every coach in the NFL, if he had the same record as Jason Garrett had, they'd be coaching for their job. And that even being Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick had, in the last 8 years, 9 years, if his record was exactly like Jason Garrett was, because he doesn't have a hallmark. He doesn't have anything to say, something, I build a great defense. Something, I cultivate young talent. Something, I can put a top 10 offense, top 5 offense out there on the field every year. That's the reason why I'm here. He can't do those things.
No.
So, yeah, he should be. In this very, very competitive league that is about parity, and, man, I'm going to tell you, every year there are 8 to 10 teams that really have a shot to win the Super Bowl. They actually do. This is not the other sports. You don't have the salary cap. You don't have one team making all the money and other teams. No. That's the reason why you have competitive balance in the NFL. And when you have that, you should have higher expectations on your coaches. This is one of the better franchises. It's supported financially. He's able to go out and get players to be able to develop these players. And I think the Dallas front office, I give them credit. They've done well with the draft. They've drafted some quality players. And their defense is outstanding. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, what else do they have besides that? The guys they draft on the offensive line.
And then outstanding defense. They got Zeke.
Outstanding defense. And they got Zeke, which they drafted. So I'm giving them credit for that. But what is the head coach responsible for? Besides trying to keep a culture or trying to keep the owner satisfied? What is that relationship there? And I think that Jerry is comfortable having Jason Garrett there and the way he wants the Dallas Cowboys to be run. But Jerry said it's about winning. If it is about winning, then his job should be in question.
Well, and what does a head coach do? Either has excellent schematics or helps nurture talent. Who's on the Dallas Cowboys that were wow, they're way better than we ever thought they would have been. They've drafted really well.
It was supposed to be Dak Prescott.
And by the way, for
after
Dak,
the first season it was.
This is the thing. That was by accident.
Yes, that's right.
Tony Romo got hurt.
And it's not like Dak all of a sudden was getting better. It was just immediately he was better than anyone expected. What I'm talking about is a player who starts here and after 2 or 3 years in the system, in the coaching, in the culture, gets to here. Yeah. A player who reaches or even exceeds what you thought his potential was. But there was an interesting question posed on a podcast I was listening to yesterday, one of the Ringer podcasts. If Jason Garrett got fired, who's hiring him? What's his next job? Is he the head coach at Princeton, his alma mater? There's no NFL teams making him a head coach. I'm not certain what NFL team is lining up to make him an offensive coordinator.
No, because he hasn't called. He had to have the experience of calling plays. If you're going to be a coordinator, calling plays is a key skill.
So you've got one of the marquee jobs in all of sports, a job that if it were open, you don't think David Shaw at Stanford, well, no matter how much you like Stanford, would think long and hard about becoming the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? You don't think there would be coaches across the league thinking whoever the hot young coordinator is, whoever the potential next Sean McVay is, man, that's where I want to go. And he has it. The guy who has it would not be a sought commodity for anyone if he were on the market.
Let me ask an unpopular question, but just to play devil's advocate. Is there anything to be said for taking a conservative approach to head coaching, knowing that in your division nobody's running away with this, that if you can just steady the ship and keep everybody healthy and maybe play to tie and not always play to win? I know it's not the sexy approach, but is there anything to that given the way this division is going?
Yeah, if you're talking about this year, but if you're talking about Dallas Cowboys and with Jerry Jones, man, Jerry Jones is trying to win a championship. Like, he could stay, yeah, absolutely. That would be, to me, be the easy thing to do. Washington last night, 2-1 coming into, we knew they'd come back to the pack. But are you
the whole
trying?
Pack is down there.
But are you trying to win a championship? Do you think you're as good as the Rams? Like, do you think you're as good as the best teams in the NFL? Because your division is one thing. But it's where is the franchise going and what is the potential? Are you just going to allow this talent that you have on that offensive line and at running back, you're just going to allow another year to waste away? I told Nick, out of their first 3 years, the first three teams they've been on since Dak and Zeke have been there, year number one in 2016 was the best opportunity for them to win a Super Bowl, because also they had a great situation at quarterback because Tony Romo was still there. See, my thing is they should have been looking at Jason Garrett's job. Even when they had Tony Romo, when they had a better team, they had a better chance to win the Super Bowl, and people would question, should they have made the move then? And I would be in that group. Like, this is long, long overdue with the lack of playoff success that the Cowboys have had.
He's been the Cowboys head coach for 9 years. If you remove that 1 year, that Dak, Zeke, magical year, he's 56 and 53. That's as close to being right at 500 as you can be. Now, even with that 1 year, he's at 55% wins. There's 11 coaches in the sport that have coached at least 75 games. 9 have been to a Super Bowl. One is Marvin Lewis, who was coaching the worst franchise in the sport for a while. He's taken him to 7 playoff appearances, but even Marvin Lewis's time, people have thought is up. And the other is Jason Garrett, who's been in the playoffs twice and won 1 playoff game. That you don't get this type of job security without at least reaching, if not winning, a Super Bowl. Nobody else has it. Marvin Lewis has it, but at least they've been more successful over the last 15 years in the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They've been in the playoffs 7 times from where the Bengals were, from wearing the bags on their heads. Like, I don't know what the justification is other than it's easy to keep him. And I said last week, sometimes when you're coaching with job security, you are not making the best choices for your team. That decision to punt on 4th and 1 is a coach with job security. It's a coach that says, I'm not going to do anything outside the lines at all, because I think as long as I don't make a major gaffe, I get to keep my job, even if that's not what's best for the team.
And yes, it is easier to keep Jason Garrett, but it wasn't easy to make that decision about Des Bryant, and Jerry Jones made that decision. Not that the two were exactly the same, but he did make one somewhat tough decision in letting Des Bryant go. But we'll talk about this a little bit more as your eyebrows raised so high.
Yeah.
That
I mean, it didn't help the team.
No, it did
not. How tough the decisions are when you make tough decisions, but for the detriment of the team.
Right, and this clearly isn't helping the team either. We'll have Bart Scott out here to talk about this in a little bit, but time now for your player resume, sponsored by Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Manny Machado was the star.